So I just saw Transformers 1 and it was really good. I thought it was really, really good. Before this movie, I was kind of fearful that it's like, oh no, it's a Paramount animated movie, oh, what's gonna fucking happen? And it's a Transformers IP, and apparently it's also canon to like the Michael Bay universe of Transformers movies. I was really skeptical about this film, but after watching it, it was really cool, and I even got a Shot of the Hedgehog poster for the upcoming Sonic 3 movie, which I will do a really, really good review on that film, so look out for that. But unlike this movie, basically marketing Sonic 3, I'm not going to talk about that right now. We're talking about robots that can turn into cars. I really like Transformers. I really want to know more about them. I really think it's a very cool concept that these robots can turn into cars and like fight other robots and like other aliens, and like I really just enjoyed the Michael Bay films for how ridiculous and over the top they were. It's a very, very stupid movie. It's a very stupid franchise, honestly. And honestly, you can't take it seriously because the Michael Bay movies have just ruined what Transformers really is. And I really feel like this movie was just like a really good refresher on like what Transformers is like really about. It's nothing so crazy, nothing political, nothing that needs to have like other movies to explain other things. It was just a simple story about the Transformers. They had some world building and they wanted to, connect it. And I think they did a really good job. Animation for this movie was really, really good. Though I will say, when I went to go see the film, I went to a theater at AMC where the screen was very dim. And I really don't know if that was just the screen or was it the film, because I know this movie is really colorful and I know it needs to be really bright. So I'm just gonna say I just blame the theater room for being so dim. And yeah, movie theaters, please clean your screens or make sure the lighting is good, especially for an animated movie. It's kind of important, but whatever. Characters was really good. I was definitely skeptical about the cast choices, like having so many people in like Marvel and like other comedy movies play like these characters. Like I really wasn't expecting to like have it be that serious, but they mixed that seriousness with the comedy in very well. Brian Tyree Henry is playing Megatron, so it's like, how is this even going to work, because this dude is known for being a very funny person. Chris Hemsworth being Optimus Prime, who's supposed to be very stoic and serious, being played by this guy who's been known for Thor, who's kind of a jokester lately. You even got Scarlett Johansson playing Aelita 1. And Keegan-Michael Key for Bumblebee. Now, I like Keegan, I like Key and Peele. I think he's a really funny person. I really didn't think he did great in the Mario movie, so I was like, okay, how is he going to be Bumblebee? But he did a really, really good Bumblebee in this film, and honestly, he did a way better job in this than he did in Mario. He was very funny. He was very, over the top. I actually laughed to like a lot of the jokes he made, and he even made some references to his old skits. So if you know, with Aaron. So even though I really was, skeptical at first, I really ended up liking the choices for everyone. They even got Lawrence Fishburne and John Hamm to play some important characters for the Alphatron and Sentinel Prime. The writing was done really well. Like I said, a lot of the people, it wasn't like that stupid kid comedy. It was actually kind of like, that's actually pretty funny, This is the type of film you can watch and you don't need to be a baby or a very young child to see it, to like get some giggles out. At least for me. That's just my opinion. It takes place on a planet where the Transformers are born, and it's a very interesting place to look at, very pretty. The dim light didn't really help the film. A lot of lore-friendly tidbits thrown in, so like it really fits with like the lore of Transformers and how they were born and created and where they started. There were some other characters throughout the movie who also made an appearance that's real Transformers fans will be like, oh, that's him, that's Jazz, that's Ratchet. It's like, oh shit. I forgot to mention it, but voice acting was just very well done as well. Nothing really stood out as like very bad. There wasn't really any bad performances done by anyone, so really just overall a good cast. Pacing for the film was very good. They took some time to explore some locations, and they had a really good opening scene where we got to see the world of Transformers and how some of them are born workers. So that was really done well. It's definitely an enjoyable movie to watch where the pacing just isn't so fast, or it's like it's just so crazy and out of control like the newer Transformers movies have been lately. Speaking of which, this is better than most of the new Transformers movies, or at least the ones coming out recently. It's definitely better than the Beast Primal one. I really forgot much about that film, but yeah, definitely better. There were some good music choices with the soundtrack. Nothing that really stood out to where I know or I can remember the song, but I thought the music was done really well. It was very, you know, it was just very simple. Nothing really stood out, but also nothing really insulting. There was a good amount of action in this film. You know, it's marketed pretty much as an action movie, and there was definitely a lot of action going on. I think my favorite sequence was the race at the beginning of the film. I really just liked seeing that because I like very fast things and things that are really colorful. So yeah, go figure, I would like that part of the film. But also just the end sequence, the final battle was just really done really well. So I want to now talk about the film. Alright, here we go. So, Optimus Prime and Megatron are pretty much friends. They work at this job, and they work at the mines because that's their job, and they pretty much can't do anything else but that. But Optimus Prime and even Megatron at times kind of like yearns to be something more than really meets the eye. Ha 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 ha! So they're like, I just want to be more than this, and Prime even tells Megatron, like, don't you want to be more than this? And Megatron's like, yeah, I would love to, but, you know, I don't want to risk my job. You know, I like my simple life. I like that it's stable, and yeah, I'm not trying to ruin that. Also, I know I'm calling them Optimus Prime and Megatron, and they weren't given that names at first. Optimus Prime's being a prime is like a title, so, and Megatron wasn't always called that, so I don't really remember the names, so I'm just gonna call them that because that's who they are, so deal with it. In the beginning of the movie, it takes place on Cybertron, and before this, we also learned that primes were basically these robots who were like the best of the best who defended Cybertron, and they all have a cog, which basically allows them to transform. I think it's called a cog, but it could be called something else. Optimus learns about these primes because he keeps sneaking in and learning about secret documents that he's not supposed to know about, because everyone's trying to find the Matrix of Leadership, which is an artifact, and this is what helps people become primes, or basically the best of the Transformers. Also, it kind of chooses you as the leader. It kind of sees you like, hey, you're chosen to be a prime, and this matrix is also responsible for energon to flow through the, you know, Cybertron planet. I really hope I'm not messing up the lore, but yeah, basically this artifact was lost and everyone's been trying to find it, and they have a leader, Sentinel Prime, who is basically trying to find this artifact to help bring energon back to the city. Also, just a quick notice, the matrix was part, you know, is like an artifact given from like a very big other, you know, a bigger transformer. I believe his name was Primus, and he made 13 other prime leaders, and yeah, they're lost, so is artifact. And yeah, Optimus Prime pretty much wants to, you know, do more with his life. He wants to find this matrix and be a hero and, you know, save his planet essentially. Then he's caught by some guards and he runs away, and eventually he gets bailed out by Megatron. And it's at this point where we learn about their friendship and how they're really cool friends and they look out for each other a lot. But eventually they go back to work, and they're miners, so, you know, they're playing a lot of Minecraft. They're looking for energon, but eventually a cave collapses and some shit happens, and Optimus tries to be a hero, and he succeeds actually in saving someone's life. And then Ielita, who's, you know, their manager at the job, gets fired for it, so she's put in a rough position, and she's like, you guys are fucking idiots, stop being heroes. But yeah, Sentinel Prime comes back with an announcement being like, hey, we haven't found that matrix yet, but don't worry guys, we're looking, we're definitely looking really, really hard. We just need to keep going on missions. Also, let's have a race tomorrow, because yeah, no more working also. So eventually the main characters, Optimus Prime and Megatron, take this opportunity to be part of the race because they think if they could just beat one person, then they're worthy of getting a cog, because this race is being held by people who can actually transform. So they watch the race at first, but then eventually they sneak in and they use their mining jetpacks to sneak into the race and basically be part of the race, and they're entitled the miners in the pacing or the race, and that's really funny. A lot of shit happens. It's, what the fuck was that? Anyway, I'm keeping that in. Yeah, a lot of funny shit happens. It seems like they're definitely winning the race, because like they're like keeping up with everybody, and eventually they get to like third place, but then like they keep falling for the traps because this isn't a normal race, and they almost make it. They actually almost do, but they come in dead last. If only they just kept running more, they maybe could have, you know, placed But that doesn't really matter. They get into trouble, but Sentinel Prime is like, hey, you guys are pretty crazy. You guys should be part of my squad or like or something soon. So, you know, everything's all good, and then their boss comes and is like, hey, you guys are kind of crazy. Don't ever do that again. I'm gonna send you down to the bottom of the workers. And that's where they meet Bumblebee, where he says like, hey, welcome to my crib, and Bumblebee's been down there for like multiple years, and it implies that he never leaves and makes friends with dead robots. And again, this is where a lot of the old references from Key and Peele come in. It's at this point that Megatron and Optimus are trying to get out of there. So after some digging around, they run through the trash and they eventually find a chip that has a distress signal from Alpha Trion. So that's when the main gang needs to go to these coordinates to figure out what's going on. They also bring Bumblebee along with them. Eventually, they sneak onto some cargo trains that lead to the outside world, and also Aelita joins. She kind of just stumbles on to them, and at first she's not happy with it, but she really doesn't have anything better to do. Eventually, the main gang stumbles upon Alpha Trion in this cave, and he gets woken up, and Alpha Trion's like, bro, what's going on? And the Transformers are like, oh, we're here to save you. Everything's gonna be fine now. But then he tells a story about how actually he was betrayed. He actually tells them that Sentinel is the one who killed all of the original Primes and sent them to their doom. In exchange, he works for the Quintessence and he can rule over Cybertron, but he has to supply the Quintessence with Energon from the place where all the main characters were mining. So yeah, everything they knew is a fucking lie. Shocker. Alpha Trion also tells them like, hey, why are you guys missing your cogs? You should be able to transform, but then they realize that, oh wow, that was stripped from them from birth. So that's just another big lie, and you know, changed their lives that they were all told. So Alpha Trion eventually gives them all cogs from the other primes, and now the main cast is able to transform, and eventually it becomes a bit of a struggle to transform, but they eventually get it down, and there's a really cool action sequence where they get to try out their new powers, or I should say transformations. They eventually get it down. They're told that they need to take this chip with the evidence back to the city of Cybertron so that the people can know the truth and he can be taken down. On their way back, they eventually see that Sentinel is working with the Quintessence, and they basically get all the proof that they need. So they're like, oh yeah, fuck this guy. He's really the bad guy. Eventually, the main cast is heading home, but then they get captured by the High Guard, which is a team of rogue Transformers that was basically rebelling against Sentinel, but they were kind of doing it in a very bad way. There was a very funny scene where Bumblebee had his mouth sealed shut, but he was still able to talk and annoy everybody. So that was pretty funny. It got to the point where Megatron challenged all of the High Guard, or at least their strongest leader. And the High Guard really liked this guy, but that won't come back until later. So they kind of have a temporary alliance for the time being. There's also in this moment where Optimus Prime saw that Megatron was becoming more and more aggressive about this truth, and in a way becoming evil. Megatron was upset about knowing his life was basically an entire lie and his future was stripped away from him at birth, so it's very understandable why he's this aggressive. Optimus is like, yo buddy, chill, we're just going to expose the truth and everything's going to be fine, but Megatron wants to do something more. He wants to actually take him down and destroy him. Then Sentinel's forces finds the main gang with the High Guard, and there's a lot of fighting that pursues. Also, the chip that shows Sentinel's evil ways gets destroyed, so that's pretty fucked. A lot of people from the High Guard gets captured, including Megatron. Optimus takes whoever's left to fight Sentinel at the home of Cybertron, takes the war to him. After this, we cut to where Megatron is being captured, and he faces Sentinel, and he talks to him, and it's like, hey, why did you do all this? And Sentinel's like, I just wanted to be in control. I just wanted a lot of power. It's also where he calls Megatron a really good miner, so that was pretty funny. Optimus breaks up the party and, you know, starts fucking shit up, and there's a big war scene that happens, and it's really cool. A lot of people are fighting. Sometime also, this is where Optimus comes back home and gets all the other miners to fight against Sentinel. This moment and another moment before when they met the High Guard is when they made some references to other characters that really big fans would know, like Jazz. So there's a lot of fighting. I'm just gonna sum it all up. A lot of fighting happens. Aelita eventually gets the opportunity to expose the truth to the entire world, kind of like the whole I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die. You know, that type of, you know, reveal for the enemy is kind of cliche, and I feel like it's kind of overdone by now. So I really wish movies would stop doing that. It's kind of lame. It feels like a very lazy way to just show the entire world, oh wow, he's a bad guy. I was lied to my entire life. All the miners, stop working. They eventually like say, nah, fuck this shit. They throw carts around. They rebel against them. And basically Sentinel's entire plan is ruined. And yeah, and then now it's time for him to face his judgment. Optimus and Megatron was fighting him a lot. And Megatron ends up beating up Sentinel. And he even takes his core. Optimus and Megatron get into a little bit of a scuffle, and Optimus falls, and this is the point where Megatron has just fully become evil, and he accepts what he has become. He makes a really, really cool speech to a lot of people announcing that he is now Megatron, and all the while Optimus is falling to the Earth's core, or Cybertron's core, and it's there where he finds the Matrix of Leadership, and now he is revived as Optimus Prime. And this was a really, 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 really cool scene. I kid you not, one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen in animation. If this scene alone gets like a 10. It's so cool. Optimus Prime now has one final fight with Megatron, and he then decides to show mercy on Megatron and basically force him to just fucking leave with all the other Decepticons. The day is saved, everyone gets a core, and everyone can now transform, but there's still a new war to be held against the Quintessential, I believe that, what did I call it? Quintessence. And so yeah, the film pretty much ends implying that the Transformers is now going to take this war to the Quintessence and take back what was stolen from them, which I believe is all the Energon, which I don't know, but that's where the movie just ends. And there's a post-credit scene where Megatron now rises and he calls his troops the Decepticons, so everything is set up for the next film. This movie was just really good. I thought it was really enjoyable. I really wish it would get more support because it's not doing too well in the box office, and I really think Paramount did a really great job with this film. It's a shame because another great animated movie came out around this time, but hopefully this movie will get the support it needs, and it seems like a sequel will happen regardless. It seems like it has a lot of good reputation online, and a lot of really big fans like it, but fans can only do so much for a film. Yeah, I really recommend this film. I thought it was very enjoyable, very fun. It's definitely not going to be anything boring in my opinion. Definitely make sure that your theater looks good because you want this movie to look good and not dim. But yeah, that was my review on Transformers 1. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really enjoyable, and I think other people should watch it and really support it. I think movies like this deserve a lot more praise. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Thank you, and I'll see ya.